All right, guys, the M&A career ladder. What is it? And how do you know if you are progressing properly? So, when you're in college, at some point, probably sophomore year is when I'd recommend you want to get a summer analyst position. And so, ideally, it's when you finish your freshman year, you're a rising sophomore, you're going to get a summer analyst position. That might or might not happen. If it doesn't, no worries. Highly suggest something like a congressional internship. If you can't do that, then there is your next year. So definitely between sophomore and junior year, you better get the summer analyst position or you're behind. So you do get the summer analyst position, let's say you're 20. And so at this point, your job in the summer analyst position, let's say you're in New York, most likely you will be, it's to absolutely impress everybody. It's to get to work early. It's to dress and act the part. I know you're going to have a lot of friends, and they're going to have much easier jobs that are much less time consuming. However, avoid the clubs. I know it's no fun. You're not going to have a life. It's all right. You can still go with them to the bars on Saturday, I guess, if that's your thing, though I'd recommend against it. But you're going to need to basically really impress those you work with, especially those senior to you, so that they will pull for you. And so sometimes from just the summer analyst position, you might not even need to interview. They might extend you an offer for an analyst position. So definitely by junior year, you want that summer analyst position so that by the time the next year, where you're going from junior to senior, and now you've graduated, then you will be walking into an analyst position. So let's say you've done that. You're 21 now. 21, maybe 22, and you were impressive enough during the summer analyst position to get the full-time analyst position. So you're going to work at least 2 years, no more than 3, typically before you go to MBA school. You might or might not be offered a full-time promotion. Sometimes they expect you to go to MBA school and encourage it, might even pay for it. Sometimes they'll offer you associate promotion, which is the next level up, and you don't have to go to MBA school. But at this point, you're kind of committing to investment banking specifically, and maybe sell side. There might not be an easy off-ramp for you to go from sell side to buy side if that's your goal. So let's assume we're just talking about sell side banking for this point. So let's assume you did get your MBA. So if you graduated, let's say at 22, and you worked in an analyst program for 2 years, first you learned how to model. Most of what you did was quantitative in nature. And so now you're an expert modeler. You're helping associates with the qualitative stuff, so things like spreading comps, mapping out industries, helping your MD define who potential target clients might be and why, so on and so forth. You'll be creating a lot of what we call pitch books. So a pitch book is something, it goes by a bunch of names, but really it presents your firm, where they rank, why they'd be an ideal representative for this company, taking them to market, whatever it is. So I'm an M&A, I'll speak to M&A, why you'd be the ideal steward for them through this process that is essentially seeking liquidity for part of or all of their company. And so you've completed 2 years, maybe 3, and now let's say you're 24, 25, you're taking the GMAT and whatever free time you have, you're studying for it. And then you're going to MBA school. The ideal MBA school is going to be Harvard, possibly Wharton. There's a few others, but those would be the top 2. Others would include Darden at the University of Virginia, MIT Sloan School, Chicago Booth, Northwestern Kellogg School, so on and so forth. These would be some of, not all, but some of the top schools that will help you get into either the buy side if you want to go there. So firms like that might include Texas Pacific Group, KKR, Insight Global, and others. And so you could potentially go buy side, but let's again stick with the sell side path. And so now you're going to come in as an associate. You didn't necessarily need an analyst training program to come in as an associate. You didn't have to be a banker before you went to MBA school. It's a chance where, let's say you were a consultant, maybe you worked for Accenture, maybe you worked for Boston Consulting Group or Bain or McKinsey or one of those. And so if that's the case, you can rebrand should you want to, come out of MBA school and go the banking route, but you will be at a disadvantage for those who have had a formal analyst training program. You'll be more comfortable because you'll be doing more of the qualitative work, but you have to understand the numbers side as well as the story side and how to present the story and the numbers in a cohesive, meaningful way where you'll be able to achieve top enterprise value for your client. Once you're an associate, you're again doing more of the same. So I don't suggest you do all that going out that some of your peers will do, especially those who have not worked banking before. I suggest that you focus on your work because now you're getting meaningful bonuses. And especially once you go from associate to VP, you'll get really meaningful bonuses. And so you're so close and you don't want to mess it up now. And so the idea here is to get to managing director as fast as you can. We'll speak about specific but typical paths. So a typical path is you'll be an associate for probably 2 to 3 years at least before you're a vice president. You'll be a vice president for another probably 3+ years. You're always looking to achieve a tier 1 band where they see something special in you, where you're not just somebody who can deliver the project, but you are trusted in client meetings. As a VP, you'll be leading the delivery team, which will include analysts and associates. And so at this point, you want to make sure that their work is perfect, both on the qualitative and quantitative side. Assuming it's perfect on both those sides, the buck stops with you, then you'll be having a lot of the engagement with the buy-side team, somebody who's probably also mid-career level in the early part of the process. And so when you learn how to package a company properly, take it to market, now comes the point where you might start getting invites to do more of the prospecting that directors and most specifically managing directors are going to do. You might maybe skip the director step and go straight to managing director, that you'd have to be an absolute superstar to do that. Most will be a director, which is kind of a glorified vice president, where you are not bringing enough revenue into the firm to be considered a managing director, though maybe some, but you're still primarily executing deals at this point. And so when you finally get to the point where you are consistently bringing in transactions and revenue into the firm, you are now a full-time managing director, but the pressure never stops. You better keep bringing in that revenue. And so assuming you do, then you can stay there. If you don't, then that's where you start to become vulnerable. So the career progression, let's call it about 2 years from analyst to MBA school, 2 years in MBA school. So now you're about 26 after you're out of MBA school. You're probably about 29 by the time you're a VP. You're probably about 32 to 35 by the time you're a director / managing director. And you really better be a managing director by 35, no later than 37, because if it takes you longer than that, they're kind of looking at you sideways and you've got a lot of competition coming up underneath you. So your goal basically is you're on a 10 to at most 15-year run from the minute you graduate undergrad to make it to undergrad. If you don't make it then, you can still execute, though it's going to be really, really tough to move out of the execution role and into more of a revenue generating role. But that is the goal. That's where the goodies are, and that is what you want to do. That is the M&A and even more generally, the investment banking career ladder.